Bronze casting, also known as the lost wax process, is the best known and most widely used of the traditional methods for creating metal sculptures. Variations of the process were known to many civilizations in the past, and the tradition lives on at South Suburban College's sculpture class. Here, bronze casts are formed in an art foundry, or special workplace where the sculptures are constructed.
We're fortunate here at South Suburban that we have a foundry that, we are fortunate that our students are able to kind of experience this. At most universities they have art foundries, and usually it's reserved for junior, senior, and graduate students.
In order to be a skilled craftsman, one must not only have the necessary equipment for a proper bronze pour, they must also be passionate about the long and tedious process.
I'd always been intrigued by sculpture. I would never really consider myself much of a painter or drawer. So after seeing a few kids or students doing the bronze pouring, I kind of became intrigued in it and couldn't wait to take sculpture to where I was actually being able to do the process myself.
When advancing through many steps of the bronze casting technique, dedication is also a must to achieve a successful piece of art.
The big misconception about bronze casting is that it's a very quick process, and that when a student finishes the bronze pour itself, that it's just going to pop out and be clean and not need any additional work to the surface of the bronze.
Bronze pouring and finishing is merely one step in the bronze casting process. The first step is to complete an original sculpture, usually consisting of wood, clay, or stone. Many students choose to cast these pieces into bronze so they are less delicate.
I started out doing ceramics, and ceramics is much more fragile than metal is. I enjoy metal because it's more permanent, and it doesn't seem to be like it's easily broken.
Any surface detailing imperfections in the wax are corrected at this point.
Detail is extremely important when you're constructing your piece out of wax. The more detail you put into it as a wax, the more detail you get out of it in the end. When it actually is done investing, you can actually see your own fingerprints in it.
The completed wax replica must be sprued, gated, and coated with an investment. This means that a wax pouring cup, wax rods termed sprues for channeling molten metal into the piece, and air vents to release trapped air when metal is poured are attached to the wax replica. This engineering process prepares the piece for the bronze pour. Then, many coats of an investment or ceramic shell is applied to the wax sculpture.
The investment is a mixture of plaster and grog, which is like a sand or broken up bits of refractory material that allows the heat to reflect in so the bronze stays warm. And it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so it's 1 cup of plaster to 1 cup of grog. And you mix this by hand in warm water because it gives you a tactual sense of how it feels, if it's too thin, if it's too thick. So you have to continuously mix it and add more plaster or grog comparatively to make sure that it's an even material.
In order for the investment to harden and become strong, the burnout process must take place.
The burnout in bronze casting that we refer to is actually taking the investment, which has the wax contained within, and taking it to a kiln and literally for hours burning out the wax so that we have a negative cavity.
This empty ceramic shell is then placed into a sand pit with the pouring cup placed above. It is at this point that the bronze comes into play.
The bronze that we're using is kind of like the Cadillac of bronzes in terms of the way, the materials that make it up. There are different alloys of bronze. And this particular bronze we want to take up to the temperature of 1950 degrees so that it is at a point where it is at a liquid state.
The molten liquefied bronze is then poured into the cup, down through the sprues, and into the cavities of the shell. Bronze pouring is viewed to be the most critical operation in the casting process.
There are little steps that are involved. The amount of bronze, and as it flows, becomes important. You don't want to pour too fast, you don't want to pour too slowly.
It's frightening at first if you don't know what you're doing. The first time I did it, it was a bit intimidating. The metal is extremely hot, and you don't really want to make a mistake, and you're have all this safety gear on, and it's very intimidating.
After a cooling period, the shell is broken and the leftover ceramic pieces are torn away, revealing the bronze casting. It is at this point that the spruces are cut off and the creation is sandblasted. Any parts which were cast separately are welded back together, and the surface is ground to resemble the surface of the original sculpture. Locating and reworking the surface of the sculpture may consist of many hours filled with physical exertion.
Some of the things that surprised me with bronze pouring once I started doing it was how labor intensive it is. It's a real misconception that you can just get it done in a week or two, or that it doesn't take very long to accomplish. But by the time you bronze pour, you're only essentially halfway through the process.
Overall, one must always remember that the final bronze sculpture is essentially the creation of both the art of the sculptor and the craft of the founder.
The artist is the creative one, and the founder is the person that has the skills and the necessary skills to cast the piece, or invest the piece, cast the piece, finish the piece and chase the piece, and finally put the various colorations or patinas that can be incorporated into the bronzes.
After completing all of the appropriate steps in bronze casting, one will better appreciate the talent that it takes to create a bronze sculpture from beginning to end. Overall, this ancient process produces a truly unique bronze sculpture that will last for generations to come.
It's a very old tradition that I felt that I was being a part of, and one that I think is lost today with the way of computers. And so to be able to actually put your hands on something and actually feel like you're doing something that was is as old as this process is, I felt very accomplished and very satisfied in the end result.